my vice. Men are from Mars, he tripping, I put that on guard. I got the digits, but I am not calling. Wizard at night, this be that forum. I'm still stacked with that. Sunshine after that. Still stacked with that. Sunshine after that. So yeah, you know, I had a conversation with her, but it's like the signals is always crossed. I mean, like, I say yes, cause she asked me to say yes. And then she's like, I didn't want you to say yes. I wanted you to understood that a yes was required to answer the question. I was like, what?
Welcome to the spot, the Stacked After Hours spot. Welcome, everybody. My name is Natalie Cosby. I am your host for the show for Grown Folk Talk tonight. We are having our all women panel, and y'all can just ask these sisters questions. It's like, come and ask me anything. So it is ladies' night, but the ladies are in the hot seat. So let's get those cocktails, get those fingertips loose because we want to hear your questions and thoughts and comments. So let's bring in and give a round of applause to my host, my ace, Anthea, aka Sunshine. She's like, yeah, she got her award. Girl, give us a speech. Give us a speech. Come on, come on. 'Cause it's award season, is it not? It's award season.
It is. Yeah.
It is. I thought when you brought this topic up, you was like, let's have an all women panel where men, well, anybody, but especially the men can come in and just ask anything to us. We're a little bit in the hot seat. And I thought not even the hot seat, but I always feel like men, we always talk about how men are always giving us advice, but let's have the men ask the questions and hear what we got to say. So, what were some of the questions that we got?
The funny thing is, I think we've answered these questions for the men before, but maybe they have not been listening. So hopefully tonight they'll hear us and they will listen.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll clarify some of the burning questions that they've had for women for all these times. And some of the questions that I looked at, obviously, some people were triggered a little bit, and some was freaking hilarious, and some were deep, and I appreciated that from the men. I hope when it's the men's turn, though, that the women are as open and honest about the questions that they've always had in their minds for men.
Yes.
So let's get it started, right?
Yes. So what was one of the questions that stood out for you?
Well, I was dying of laughter when I think one of the guys asked, how come women never know what they want to eat?
Mm.
And it was funny to me when I thought about it, when I saw it first. And it's true. Sometimes we have all of these different qualms about, oh my God, I don't want nothing to eat. But then when the food comes, we want to taste it and we don't know what we want to eat. And as the both of us were kind of chit-chatting about that question might be a little deeper than we really think, because there's a lot of emotion that goes into a woman and how she perceives herself and her body and her size. And in some cases, and not all cases, not all women, in some cases, asking a woman what she want to eat and what she really want to eat to what she believes her guy wants her to say she wants to eat. There's a dance between that.
Yeah.
And so she may be projecting her insecurities on that question.
I think it's also like the stage that
when
you where you are when you meet the guy, right? So, when I think about myself, I've never been a small girl. I'm pretty thick. I'm
and
shaped.
neither have I.
I got all the curves and then some. But in my younger years, yeah, when you would go out on a date, or when you're at least the first date or whatever, or even now, you're just like, he has a certain aesthetic, and he's got a certain vibe, and he may be really, and he's like, well, what am I eating? And you're like, are you judging me? I mean, some of it is our
It's just like the
narrative.
salad.
Right, some of it is well, I
Yes.
can have a salad knowing your ass is hungry, but now I'm just like, "You know what? I like food. I'm always hungry. I like it. I'm a foodie." So, if you are self-conscious, if you're gonna judge me on what I eat, I'm just like,
Right. And it depends on the guy that you're with as well, right? There's some men, I think, and I'm gonna speak from my personal experience with my last relationship where
"Peace."
I had some insecurities about my weight
Mhm.
and with him. Not my I didn't have insecurities about my weight in personally, but
Right.
with him because he consistently reminded me how big somebody got, how much healthier he was eating. He started working out, losing weight, and he just felt like he was a little bit superior to everybody that either was gaining weight or bigger than or big. And like I said, I've never been a small girl, just like you. And the word skinny is not synonymous with me. So I'd never be skinny. I would be smaller, but never skinny. And so there's an emotional component to him asking me, what is it that I want to eat? So now I'm going to internalize that. Because he specifically made me feel insecure.
Yeah.
And I projected insecurity on that question. And so perhaps a question of what is it that you want to eat may not be as easy as it sounds for some women if they're going through that internal struggle
Mhm.
of weight. And if their partner may, or and so I'm not, and I really don't want to blame the men for this, but sometimes your partner has to make sure that
There's
you feel as comfortable as possible in your own skin. And you have to also, it has to start with you first,
Right,
not your
you have to
partner.
embrace
But
it.
if
I
your
think
partner,
also, but I think the one thing is, as I'm saying, as a woman now, and having somebody who did make me where I felt self-conscious because he wasn't used to dating a woman
right,
my size, because that's part of it too. He wasn't used to dating a
right,
woman my size, and I didn't always feel as beautiful as I know I am, or whatever it
right,
is. Um, you have to kind of set the boundaries, like, we're not going to discuss weight. We're not going to discuss certain things, and if I start to get out of hand, we can discuss it then, or if it's affecting my health or certain things, certain changes, or my mobility or our relationship. Yes. But if this is the size you met me, and you decide to, I say that to you, like, I want to blah 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 blah. I want to get this weight off because of such and such. Yes, hold me accountable. But I think it is around, I think that what you want to eat thing, it is a trigger for a lot of women, because it does set a certain,
yeah, yeah.
especially at this age, when our bodies,
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
well, we're like in our late 40s, 50s, our body is changing, the weight's not sitting the same way. And you're like, I'm nigga, I'm still fine, but bear with me.
But Natalie, even when we go out as women, all women going out, and
Yeah,
we
mhm.
talk about we want to eat or order something, you know how our table goes. I don't want this. Oh my God, my stomach. I don't eat much. I'm this, I'm that. I don't this and that. Why you eat? Like it's a whole dramatic process just to order food. You know that.
I know, I
And
know.
so can you
Because people's
imagine
trauma
a
shows up at
guy?
the table. A lot of women eat their emotions. So it's all this, and
Oh
that
my
has
God.
nothing to do, let me say this. This has nothing to do with the guys. This is our own shit. Now I'm bringing this back to us. This is
Yes.
us. This has nothing to do with
This
men.
is us.
And unfortunately, sometimes
Yes.
y'all get the brunt of it. But that's my
Yes.
all right. That's our
Yes. So to answer that question, it's not that we don't know what we want to eat. It's just there may be some people dealing with their own insecurities.
Ariel Neal said, I love food. I eat everything. Exactly, Ariel. Me too. So let's bring in our panel.
Exactly.
Let's bring in our panel.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna do a real quick roll call. We have Tanera Matthews, we have B Joy, Miss Joy, and then we have Kim, the Naked Yoga Goddess. Hey ladies. So it's ladies night. It's ladies night. So again, we decided we want to do the show so the brothers can ask us, or whomever wants to ask us, women included, but just like who we are, why we think the way we think, how are we thinking about certain situations, especially when it comes to love, relationships, and where we are now. So we had a lot of questions on Facebook, and one of the first questions that stood out to me, it was really interesting. He said, this question was really interesting. Are women under any obligation show interest or be consistent as men are tasked to be?
Huh?
Are men under any obligation? I think this is in terms of like a new relationship. Under any obligation to show interest or be consistent as men are tasked to be, and I'm thinking in pursual, like as far as interest, when interest is put forth.
I think so. I mean, I think that if you're interested in a man and he's texting you and you don't text back, that's going to wear on him. I've definitely been asked by men like, "Why didn't you call me back?" you know, they sometimes they have expectations to when they want you to call you back, and they also have expectations of how long you've been together. So like if you just maybe start dating, there's a certain time that they're like, okay, that's fine. But then if you've been dating for a while, it's like I call you, you're my woman, and I don't get a call immediately back, like, or I don't want a voicemail, like why couldn't you pick up? It's me, babe, So I think so. It's been my experience for sure, and the circle of women that I'm around.
So I think the reason why I'm gonna read into his question a little bit. I'm gonna add to it because I think he feels like men are always pursuing, right? They're always the one who has to chase or put it forth, and so I think he's just like men have to be consistent. He feels like women do not. And has that been your? I mean, Kim, I hear what you're saying because I agree with you, but I'm just curious
personally,
about.
I think it's important for men to chase, and no, I won't say chase. I'll say make the first contact and the initial show interest initially, because men are visual, and as a woman, I want to know that a man is interested in me visually, not just because I made it easy or I put it out there. I think it kind of throws off the dynamic. So I would not approach first. I wouldn't express interest first, but I definitely would return interest. If they approach me and I like what I see or the conversation is good or whatever, then I will not play games and not text back or, he took a day to call me, I'll wait a day to return the call. I don't do that kind of stuff. But I think it's very important that they show interest first.
Vincent Diaz said they should be.
I agree.
Yeah, consistent.
I agree.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's across the board. That is a love language. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting that the question was raised because my experience is women once they're in the relationships and it's established that there is interest on both sides, I find that women, pursue or want the attention and the affection and that sort of thing a little bit more than men. Men are a little bit more independent, kind of doing their thing, moving around. Women, I think in general, naturally kind of, have that personality. So the question is interesting to me, but I definitely agree women should be absolutely consistent and match the energy.
So Malik, yeah, I think I think that's why men are just like, I want to be chased too. There's this big narrative right now, like I want to be pursued as well, because I feel like sometimes they feel like they get rejected a lot.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine being
Well,
in
maybe
that
this is
position.
all.
Yeah.
What?
I'm not cut for the rejection. I don't want it. I admire men who deal with it and hear no 3 times and keep going. Like, I highly respect it. But you guys have muscles for a reason. That's how I feel. Sorry.
No,
we all got our crosses to bear.
I love the new place to a certain extent that we are dating. Whereas not where you just have to go cold turkey like a cold call, but if he's flirting with you, I think that it's a beautiful time we're in where we can say, hey, you want to grab a cup of coffee or tea sometimes, or do you drink? Let's grab some cocktails. And it's not even a thing now, that, oh, I asked him out, he's flirting with me, I'm flirting with him. Maybe he's shy. There are different dynamics of the masculine in this present time that I think is really it's fun. It's an opportunity to play with.
Well, that's interesting, because this goes into the question that Nino Kayem, he said, well, we all know the narrative of the bad boy and the drama does have a certain sex appeal to it. My question, why does it seem like nice guys finish last as the player succeeds?
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think that, okay, let me say, I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. So let me not quick say I don't agree. What I don't agree, what I'm giving a little pushback on is there seems to be circles of people and they're missing each other. There are groups of women who they do not like the bad boy. They like a nice guy. They like a gentleman. And they seem to be missing those men who want the nice women, because there's this whole narrative of, oh, the bitch gets the man. Like, if I was a bitch, if I did this, if I was a thoughty type of woman, I would get all the guys. And nice girls stay home, no one's calling them. So there's that narrative for women too. So I'm like, how do we get the two groups together? Me personally, I love a nice guy. I've always gone for the nerd. I've always gone for the stereotypical intelligent, geeky guy. So I don't know.
Ladies, what do y'all think?
I think it's important, I think there's stages to this. I think it's important for a man to recognize if a woman is into him or not. Because there are a lot of nice guys that, for example, I may not just be into. So, first you got to establish that. If you're with a woman and she's into you, she wants a nice guy. You can't just come out of nowhere and just because you're a nice guy, I may not be into you. So it's not because you're nice. It's not that I don't like a nice guy. I may just not like you.
Excellent point.
So I think, to me, men tend to kind of feel like if they approach you or they call you or they do certain things, like, okay, you're supposed to react. But we just don't like everybody. It's not about looks or, you're a nice guy. It just may not be a connection. Mm-hmm. So once the connection is established, then I think these questions we can answer them differently. So if I connect with you and I like you, you absolutely 1000% have to be the nice guy. I don't want a bad guy.
But I think we also like alpha. I think sometimes
We want a man.
we want a man.
Yeah,
We
so
want to know that I'm gonna, you know what I'm saying? I think we want him to be kind. We don't
yeah.
want him to be a pushover. Am
Well,
I
yeah.
correct,
See,
lady?
that's a man.
I mean,
You
I
want
don't.
a
I,
man.
There are certain men that you can manipulate and move a little bit easier than others.
Mhm.
Do
Yeah.
we not agree with that, ladies?
I agree.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
do.
that's personality.
But I
stuff.
think a lot of people are mistaking what a nice guy is. A nice guy doesn't necessarily mean like a pushover, and I think that's what a lot of people are terming a nice guy as.
Right.
Right. Right.
I think there are a lot of self-proclaimed nice guys who are not nice at all. They're
Exactly.
actually like passive aggressive, wimpy. There are a lot of other things, and they think because they aren't the alpha man in the room or the aggressive guy in the room that they're a nice guy, when they may have some self-development to still work on to be
Right.
more attractive
That's
to
true.
women. And then they blame us because they say, "Why don't you like me? I'm a nice guy." But if you text me and I don't text you back in an hour and you start saying, B, why didn't you answer my calls? You're not a nice guy. You're just passive aggressive. Or you got some other traits there, and you're not getting the response that you want out of women, and you're pointing the finger at women. That's what I think.
Right.
And that goes back to what you were saying, Tanera.
Yeah.
The connection. There's an alignment that needs to be established.
Yeah, and I think it's important for men to recognize if they've crossed over to that or if they haven't. Now, I believe a man that is pursuing a woman, it may not be immediate, but if she is answering your call, if she is agreeing to meet with you, you may still have a little work to do until you get there. But once you're there, then it should be mutual. That's when everything kind of elevates. And I think, unfortunately, again, I still believe the man has to pursue initially.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I believe in matching. I believe in matching energy, and if I am interested in someone or someone is interested in me, and then they're not calling or they're not following up with a text or anything like that, then to me that tells you're not really interested. So why am I gonna even try?
right,
If you're not trying, then I'm not trying.
right.
I believe in matching energy, but I don't believe in tit for tat.
Yeah,
Totally different, right?
I-
If you're feeling me and I'm like, okay, well, let me give it a try. Let's do this. Let's go out on a date. But if we're just not, you know, going any further than, like a call or something like that, then to me that translates into you're not interested.
So you're saying that he has to be of action. He's got to be of action
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
and clear.
who wants to. Yeah, I don't want to just be like, okay, well, maybe he likes me. Let me text him every day and see, or let me text him and see if he's gonna respond or not. Like, what is
How
that
long
about?
for ladies? How long? How long? I mean, what is the time that what's the grace period for you not to hear from him? Like,
At what stage in the
what
relationship?
stage of the relationship?
it doesn't matter.
You mean
Whether
when you
it's
first meet
brand
them, if you're
new,
not
whether
dating
it's
yet?
brand new or you're in it.
If I meet him and I don't hear from him for a week, I'm going to assume he's busy. I wouldn't be upset. I'm not waiting by the phone.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
first
Right.
immediate response is not, oh, what like
So let's say
problem.
after your first date, after the first date, what's the expectation?
You
And
know,
you
if
don't
I
hear from them after the first date?
yeah,
What
I
is
think,
what is
I
the
think
grace?
we
Is that the
established it. We
person?
established it at the end of the date. Like, hey, I really enjoyed this. This was fun. It shouldn't be a lot of gray area. If we've
So
established
Joy,
a connection,
a week is okay for you after the first date?
probably not.
That's what I'm asking. After the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
date.
yeah.
You know what? For me,
Yeah.
if I
Fine
don't
with
like
me.
you, if I don't really like you, it can be 2 weeks, and you
Yeah.
call. I'm gonna say,
Yeah.
hey.
No,
good to hear from you.
we like him. That's my
Oh,
whole
no,
point.
you
We
gotta call
like
the
him.
next
It's
day.
the first date. What is
Next day.
he?
First of all, you need to call, make sure I made it home. So you need to call that night after the date,
Okay.
and then
There
the
you
next day.
go.
Absolutely.
There you go.
The pursuit has to be immediate. If you wait a week, no, it's not gonna work for me.
If
You're
I
not
like,
interested.
if I like
Just-
him, if I like him, I'm kind of leaning toward what Sunshine said about I'm with reciprocity. In my 20s, I was so much about this chase, and I was more about the chase because I was very shy. Coming into my sexuality, sensuality, being very comfortable with my body, I just want reciprocity. So if I like him and he dropped me off and we, and I'm 3 in the morning, I'm thinking about him, I'm be like, oh my God, you're on my mind. That could happen. Like the flirting and all of that is going to be immediate. And for me, it's about reciprocity. At that point, it's about us feeding into our energy. And so I don't have a rule book or expectations at that point. And I've evolved to that place because it has been a lot more enjoyable to experience a man in that way.
Yeah.
So Kim, you're like, if I like you, I'm gonna text you the next hour or two if I feel like it. Whatever you feel.
If I'm inspired to do that,
Okay.
if let's say we were talking about something at dinner, and then oh my goodness, I'm watching it, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, turn on CNN right now. It's on what we were just talking about. Yeah, because the reciprocity that I'm expecting at that point is that he is going to want that. So what I'm desiring, if I have any expectation, is that he's desiring the same thing.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting question, and Nina asked this earlier, and I think this kind of relates to what me and Anthony were talking about. But it says, "Do you ladies feel less competitive in the dating arena with other races of women who may?" He says, "Who may eat healthier." But I'm gonna push that a little bit more and say, who may look whatever a certain
Or other women.
other women. Let's drop the who may eat healthier. Let's just say
I'm about
other
to
women
say,
of other races.
I got some vegan ribs in there.
And
No,
let's-
we take it off. That's why I said I'm editing it. We're gonna drop the who else, just other women of other races, especially in this. When I think about the TJs and what has been going on with these women of other races.
Okay. Yes.
So that's my
Girl.
but that's what I'm saying. Do you guys feel less competitive? Ariel Neal said there's no competition. Yes, girl. But no, do you feel less competitive in the dating arena with other women of other races? We're gonna leave it at that.
I was out to dinner with two white friends of mine the other night, and we were talking about Kanye West and the Kardashians, like having all these black men. And I told them, I was like, you know what? Traditionally, it's been the black men that we're not attracted to. Like there's something in that primal way. They're usually the ones that we're like, go ahead with yourself. I see why a sister wants you. That's been when I look at the like the Kanye's, the TJs, Nia Long's guy, like let them have them. Let them have them. Deuces.
Yeah. I mean, it's all fun and games till they taste the potato salad, or the potato salad got the raisin in there.
I don't necessarily think about it as far as competition, but I do think, they get some of our quality men.
It is. It's a lot of our quality men.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, Michael Strahan. TJ. Some of them are.
The
Like,
Fox woman, like those are the quality. I mean, it just is on my list, high up on my list. And
it's
some of
not
the
necessarily
white
even
men,
dating Black
some
African
of the white
Americans.
men are getting quality women. I think we could turn that question around to the brothers.
True.
More and more and more, you're having like amazing celebrity Black women either divorcing or with a white man. And I mean, we got Kamala Harris, who's the vice president. I mean, just as far as prestige and status, she's Black.
Well, in all fairness, we did tell the men to ask us anything, so we don't want to switch their questions up.
No, I'm
So
not.
just to be fair.
I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that, in my opinion, more quality Black women are going than we're losing quality Black men. So that could be a projected issue. I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah.
I want to jump in on that one as far as the I find that the type of Black men who prefer white women, I won't say date white women or date other, probably I wouldn't vibe with them anyway. Like we have different things to talk about. I want somebody that can understand if something happens, if George Floyd happens or something happens in the news, I don't want to be dating someone who can't relate or who doesn't feel as incensed as I feel about it. And I can't imagine that those couples have that kind of relationship, because you always got to wonder, what is she really thinking if he's dating that chick? So I think it's not really a loss to me. And I don't feel like they're drawn from the dating pool, because I wouldn't be dating those guys anyway.
So when men are just like, oh, these women are more fit, they look such and such, they such and such, because that's what some people, a lot of men are just like, Black women don't take care of themselves. Like they are, I mean, I guess that's why Malik asked the question. He said, like, body wise, so on and so forth.
I've dated men that have dated white women. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they've lost their Blackness or, anything like that. In some situations, it may be a work environment where you're with that person all the time, you connect, whatever the case may be. But, golly, I had a thought and I saw a comment and it messed up my thought. I'm sorry.
Well, like I said, go ahead, Tanir.
There was a time, if a man had dated a white woman, I would not date him. Like at all. And I felt like there was some disconnect with your Blackness, or there were certain qualities that Black women had that maybe, white women, you needed a calmer, whatever. Since then, this is what I want to say. Since then, I've had Black men tell me that white women are easier. Okay. Now it's how you look at that. And I'm not trying to, be negative. Again, I'm repeating, what I've heard, but, they do pursue. It is easier. I've even had my son tell me at times, he's like, a Black woman, you got to date her, you got to compliment her, you got to talk to her all the time. Like, we have some rules, which I want to have rules. I mean, I just think we were raised that way. It's a part of our culture. But he's like, the white girl, you don't have to call her, you don't have to buy her anything, she's there. It's just a different way. So I agree with B-Joy in the sense of sometimes, like, I have to kind of evaluate. Like, if you've gone that way too many times, what type of woman do you need or you desire? Because I'm not. I know who I am, and I'm probably not that.
Is there...
I love Frasier. Whoever said that. Frasier was my show coming up. I'm intelligent. I like an intelligent Black man.
So somebody said, don't edit the question, because let the men ask the question clearly. Okay. So because somebody said, pass the casserole and the Becky.
So if the question is, are we intimidated? I mean, not intimidated.
Well, they say because a lot of Black men have said weight is one of our huge issues. Mm-hmm. And now, again, this panel, I don't necessarily know if weight is a huge issue for you guys, but that's. there's just a lot of men are just like, Black women are not as fit. They're not we don't take care of ourselves, so that's why we stray.
Yeah, but every guy doesn't want a skinny girl there's a man for everybody. There's a man and
Right.
a woman for
I agree.
everybody. So
Right.
everybody does not fall under the same standards as those men are saying or whatever. But I think hopefully we've answered the question that Nino Kayam had asked is if we're feel like we're in competition with women of another race or because of how they eat.
So let me answer it a little more emphatically. Hell no, fam. Come on, dog. No, nobody's in competition. I mean, answer for me strongly. I'm not in competition with anybody. I like who likes me. If you like thick chicks, go pick that chick up at the gym. Like, you ain't gonna find me. You ain't gonna meet me in the gym. You're gonna meet a chick that's in the fitness, whether she's Black, white, or Asian, or whatever else she may be.
Right.
Date who you like. You're not pulling them. They're not pulling from the dating pool that I'm interested in, whether it be because of their race or their fitness level or their income or whatever else that chick's got going on.
Mm-hmm.
Who likes me will approach me, and you got to be this
Right.
tall to ride this ride. You know what I mean? I don't want the people that don't want to ride this ride. Ride. They can go ride in the kiddie area. I want the roller coaster guy to come.
Okay, I like that. I like that. One of the guys is like Nat and those rustic men. Okay, anyway, let's. Another question. This is interesting. Getting into relationships. Is it more important to be right to win an argument or to compromise?
Right.
Depends on my mood.
Exactly.
I love it.
And that was the truth. That was the truth. So a lot of men tell me I always, want to be right, and I always got to get my point across, and blah blah. But my thought on that is, first of all, I like any person, male, female, anyone. My friend group and the people I connect with typically are strong personalities. Therefore, if we're talking about a topic, I need you to have a strong opinion. If you're going to open your mouth, believe it. So if you believe it, then you're trying to relay your message. If you laying down on what you thinking every time I talk to you, first of all, I'm not going to talk to you too much. Like, ultimately there is a compromise, but I believe people need, I probably should have been an attorney, but people need to argue their case.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah. Believe it. Just believe in what you're talking about. So don't come to me knowing you're wrong and want to compromise. No.
Ladies.
I know when you said
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't think it's a matter of winning or losing. I think it's a matter of just getting your point across and making sure that the other person understands where you're coming from. You may not be right. He may not be right. And sometimes we may have to just meet in the middle. But as long as I understand what his position is and he understands what my position is and not dismiss it. And I think that for me personally, we could come to a compromise where we can agree to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with both women. And when we were talking before about what I just want a man, or what was it, that kind of man. One thing I will say for me, if you're going back and forth with me all the time, I don't see that as a masculine quality. I just don't. I think that and not as far as like, oh, this is my point. I'm talking about like emotionally back and forth, like I would do with my girlfriend or my kids or someone like that. Like, I don't want a tit for tat conversation. I don't want, but last week you said, and that's not what you're saying today.
People are petty. There are some petty Pauls up in the world.
I don't like St. Patrick's. I that is one place where I will like say that's not a very masculine type of thing for me.
Pettiness. Yeah.
But you also want to encourage healthy discussions as well too. I mean, one of the most boring things is to just have somebody go and just
Yeah.
and just be
Right.
so agreeable where you can't even get their opinion on something. Not that you want an argument, but you just want somebody that has an opinion and a
No, I think, well, I always say the conversation is always continuing, right?
yes.
Just don't constantly bring up
Oh
my
my God.
viewpoint can change. Like it depends on the situation and the action, what is going on right now. Yes, I said one thing because it applied to that situation.
Right.
This is how I feel right now. Hear me out.
Yeah.
Yes, and so one of them says, why do women always blame black men and do not take accountability for their actions? Everything is not a black man's fault.
I agree.
I agree with you, Facebook user. Everything is not a black man's fault. I think some of these spokespeople on the internet are giving us all a bad rap because all of us don't feel that way. But I stepped away from social media for about 7 years and I came back about a year ago and it has drastically changed. And reading through Facebook comments, you would think that like we are just all at odds with each other and all at war. And I think sometimes the people who are the most vocal, they get the most, they make the most noise, but that's not how regular people are. Because no, everything is not a black man's fault. And I take accountability for my actions. I think any sensible person would, male or female. And so if you're hearing that in your circles, then you might need to like elevate your circle. But if you're seeing it on the internet, that's not everybody. Everybody is not that crazy like out here. That's what I think. I do think though, if you I believe in if you come to me complaining about something, then I'm gonna encourage you to be accountable for your part in that. And if you take that as me saying black men should be accountable, no, that's me saying if you're complaining about it, you have the power to fix it. If I'm complaining about something, if a woman comes to me and says, girl, a perfect example, I got a friend that came to me, men just don't take me serious. They all call me a party girl. I'm like, well, girl, you in bar 6 days a week. They're going to call you a party girl. They see you at every bar, every club, so I think people should be accountable. If something in your life is not working for you, so if you're complaining all the time, then somebody telling you it's your fault, it's probably something you can do about it. And that's, you should be accountable for yourself. That's what I think about that.
Yeah.
I will say I agree with the Facebook user, because I know in my 20s, accountability was something I was afraid of, actually, because it was something that in my family I grew up, and that it would be a judgment, it would be a trial, it would be a conviction, and then that is who you are. And so I didn't even understand what accountability was until I provided a safe space for myself to know, you don't have to get persecuted or put down or accountability is about correction, not punishment. So I think that if you love a woman, it is this narrative, as B. Joyce said, it is a very popular thing to attach. Oh, the reason why it's because I don't have a supportive man. I don't have a man behind me holding me down. If I just had that love, then that hashtag relationship goals, then I could be all that I can be. When again, did you wake up in the morning? Like, who did you email? Who did you call? How often did you show up late to work? Like, did you, speak up for yourself? Did you advocate for yourself? Like, there is 20 questions before you.
That's one of the questions, Kim. Why do y'all ask so many questions?
I saw that, and I think I put a laugh there, because I ask questions to myself.
I ask a lot of questions.
So I'm just gonna have to, I ask questions to myself, So I would have to
You want clarity sometimes, especially when you're not, somebody's coming to, if and it's not everybody really. So if somebody's coming to you sideways and you're like, wait a second, something don't seem right. I need to ask some questions here. That's probably him not stepping to whomever it is he's stepping to correct. So she got questions.
Yeah.
Then he said, then another question, a follow-up question was, why do y'all say I get it and understand until it's time to actually show that y'all get it and understand?
Well, it's rhetorical. It's rhetorical. Because I know I say I get it a lot, but what I'm saying is I get your point and what you are saying from your perspective. Doesn't mean I agree with it.
Right.
So I hear you. You don't have to say it 20 times. Because sometimes people will keep repeating it because they're trying to convince me to think the way they think. I'm like, I get it. I totally get it. From your world, your perspective, how you live your life, totally get it. And you're correct. You're right. It just don't fit for me.
Well said.
Well said. Well said.
I want to know when they say, why do we ask so many questions? I don't think I ask a lot of questions, but maybe my 3 questions might be 2 more than they want to hear.
Well, they say, well, the other thing is like, why do you ask the same question 10 different ways? Knowing that you're giving the same answer, even if it's 10 different ways. And I know I do that shit all the time.
We're gonna bring it back up. That's the point where I'm making mental notes. Like, duh, if you know me, you know. Okay, she's making mental notes now. She wants to be clear because that's a feminine. Like I said, I think that's a feminine thing. I'm making mental notes, and I'm gonna bring it back up. Yeah. So know that. That's why I'm making it clear because I don't want to just pop off and be all emotional. I want to know for sure.
Sometimes we could be petty too. We could bring the pettiness out sometimes. I'll admit it.
Yeah. And I think sometimes when we ask those questions, it's also to calm our nerves. Well, maybe he didn't understand how I was saying it. So I'm going to ask it this way because he's not really clear about what I'm saying.
That's true too. Yeah.
I mean, I know. It's just like, well, let me ask this another way because I'm about to go off. Instead of me going off, let me just ask this question this way.
True,
but a different perspective on that. I ask a lot of questions, but I think what I'm trying to learn is that some men, as a man, they don't want to be questioned. They don't like feeling like you are questioning them and what they're doing. Etc. And so I'm learning that. But a lot of times I ask questions, I don't even care what the answer is. Yeah. I'm like, what you doing? Where you at? Who you with? Who you talk to today? I don't care. I'm just talking. But I can tell from the reaction, it's like, and I'm like, oh, my bad. I don't care. So I don't know if the question is coming more from just in general, women we just talk a lot.
So maybe there's an association with asking questions to kids, right? So maybe they're just thinking you ask questions to kids, not a grown man. Maybe that's that. That's
a good point, Sunshine. They could be like, don't be trying to question me like I'm your child.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely get the pushback because I'll ask you a million questions. I'm not even listening to your answer. I'm just making conversation. But I do feel like a lot of men will feel like I'm interrogating them or I'm treating them like they're not a man. And I'm like, oh, okay.
So so Tanera, let me push back a little bit on that. Why don't you, when you're just being fun, not ask questions and say, well, hey, I did this, I did that. Talk about yourself instead of asking a question.
Yeah. I mean, I am conscious of it, where they talk about the whole women taking accountability. I am a self-reflector and I am very aware of people's reaction. So if I start to feel that reaction, I will adjust. And I won't ask as many questions. I will try not to.
I have a feeling I know who this Facebook. This is a great answer to there, which brings.
Oh yeah, y'all know who that Facebook
women
user is.
ask the same question.
1,500 different. Oh, we don't trust you. If we ask in 1,500 different ways, we don't trust you.
Who
Woo! Bottom line, beautiful. That's
True.
underneath
Because
things.
we eventually we
Right.
know it's like an interrogation. We know we're gonna
Absolutely.
catch you. We're gonna catch you in the line.
Well, we already know the truth. Actually,
Mhm,
we already
mhm.
know the
We're
answer.
just waiting
We're
for
trying
you
to
to
see
slip up.
how long you gonna take to tell us.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
That's
Definitely. I
that's
mean, there's
true.
various degrees. You want clarity, like, but then there is that too, and I think that
Yeah.
that's something that you could
But
want to go.
but not all the just so that I could be the devil's advocate. Not all the time we know the truth, but not all the time that person is lying, right? Sometimes our own insecurities can actually lead us to ask 15 different questions because we think,
Mhm.
but maybe we thinking that because that person may have made us feel that insecurity.
Good.
Right.
So just saying, there's a lot of
I've been
different
in the,
things.
I've been in the reverse position where something I was a recipient of, I didn't even do, looked so guilty and looked so wrong, and I was completely innocent. But in my guy's mind, oh, I did that. And so, I can understand how when you reverse that, something can look bad and not be bad at all.
Right.
So you do have to be open minded. And what it was, a guy that I worked with texted me, wife. He called me wifey in a text. So,
Oh, that could be problematic.
and I replied, LOL, something, something, something. It was funny to me. He's a jokester. It was
Mhm.
completely a joke. And then I left my phone at my boyfriend's house, and I said,
Oh,
"Hey, unlock my phone for me." And I had left it there all day, and it's like important stuff coming through. Read my messages to me. Obviously, I'm not doing anything wrong if I'm that open with my phone. Hey, here's my code. Unlock it. And he's like, "What's this wifey thing?" And so that's been, I don't know, 5 years ago. He still pokes at me about it. Yeah, because when the guy at work was calling you wifey, like I still hear about that today, even though we got past it. But in his mind, a man doesn't call another man's woman wife. It sounds really bad. And I can imagine if it were me, I would feel insecure. I would be like, was that your work wife? What is that?
Right. Right.
But when
Right.
I tell you completely innocent, and so I mentioned it to a girlfriend, and she's like, "No, that's terrible. How could you let this man? You should have corrected him in the moment and told this." But I knew he was being funny. I know this guy, so I'm saying that to confirm what you're saying. We're not always right. We can be wrong. Something can look bad and not be anything at all.
Right.
And
Um,
it's not a formula answer. It's a whole range. It's like different things. Know who you're actually with before
exactly.
you want to have a formula. Oh, it's this. Oh,
Yeah.
it's this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's this.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you're in a secure relationship, if you really feel good about your mate, I think our energy is spent doing nurturing things and other nice things and not interrogating and asking a lot of questions. If we are asking a question, it's out of concern. How you doing? Do you need anything? Can I rub your feet? Women are naturally nurturing and giving. But when you
This
put
is
all
a
that insecurity in the mix, then the
yeah.
bad traits come out of
Yeah.
us.
So this is an interesting question. Are optics more important than you think? Than y'all
For
think?
women,
For women. How Marie, how important are optics? Be honest,
What
lady.
does that mean? Can you clarify what that means?
looks. You're talking about looks and physical attractiveness.
I
No, I think
go ahead.
it's the optics of what you just described, B Joy.
Oh,
Yeah, because Natalie or Tanero or Kim, or if you saw, and as B Joy just said, if you saw that sort of thing on your boyfriend's phone,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, I mean, it
yeah,
looks bad. It's not necessarily that it is bad, but it looks bad.
yeah.
Or if you showed up with your friend somewhere and your man is a girl is sitting on his lap, maybe his cousin, it may be his cousin, it might be
Maybe
his cousin,
look, I'm sorry.
but the optics of that is like, wait a minute.
it doesn't
Yeah.
look good.
So for me, am I talking too much? I don't want to dominate.
No. Go ahead.
So for me, the optics, my thing is, and this may be some childhood trauma for me, I don't know. I don't like being in the dark. If I know what's going on, I could be okay with a whole wide array of things that, you'd be embarrassed to tell your grandmother. I could
Yeah.
be okay with a lot of stuff as long as I know. So you don't want to walk up on something that you're not aware of. But if I'm aware, then no, nothing bothers me. Like I'm not,
Yeah.
the optics are not important. I've been in a relationship for 9 years. If I were a younger woman, I'm 47. If I were a younger woman, if somebody said, "Why aren't y'all married?" That would like hurt. Now it's like us, we good. Like I don't want to be. So the optics of that can look really ugly, and people can make assumptions. But if you're secure and you're on the same page, then I think the optics don't matter. But if you have an insecurity, then like a guy I dated before, and someone would say, "Why aren't you married?" I would come home and say, "See, everybody's thinking that about us," but it was really me. I was feeling
Right.
that. It was me projecting that onto him, like everybody's talking. Why? So I think I'm talking in circles now, so I'll stop.
No. I think that's a great point, though.
Yeah.
Joy. It really is.
Yeah, it's a great point, and I
Yeah.
definitely agree with that. I don't think, and I mean I could be wrong, but I don't think that that's a trauma as much as it is part of connection. It's communication. Part of communication is understanding and having that sense of knowing. And if you are being intimate, there is a certain amount of knowing that you will have. And if I'm in bed with you and we're talking about, this, and we're exchanging bodily fluids, and then the next day you're not like, "Oh, my cousin is going to be there. She's so cool. We're going to be so hugged up together." So yeah, you get that sensation, and it's like, what's going on? And it's not that you would have a problem, because I know I Joy, I too have gone with a lot.
Yeah.
Really and pleasurably so.
Yeah.
So it is a communication and a knowing and respecting me enough to tell me things
Mm-hmm.
and allow me in your life and your world.
Yeah.
I think right. Yeah. If you sincerely trust and you don't I agree. And I think if you are really honest and clear and open with your partner, optics kind of go by the wayside. Because you can even when it's uncomfortable, you can have a conversation about it. It ain't it shouldn't be a big blowout.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
we have
the
two
key
more
part.
questions, ladies. Yeah. We have two more questions. What do you expect? What do you appreciate? Do you appreciate what men do for you, or do you just expect it?
I appreciate it.
course you
I
can
try to make
appreciate
sure
it.
that I say it on a regular basis. Even like the normal things. I mean, I think it's big. Like today, I needed a mattress, some simple stuff. But a friend made a connection, made a phone call, got it done. You know what I'm saying? I think we have to appreciate like everything. To me, even a man taking time to come and see me when he's busy and adjusting his day. I try. I mean, because I'm busy and I know how much it takes for me to foster these relationships on a certain level. So yeah, I think that's important to love on people like that and really appreciate who they're doing that.
Mm.
Definitely an expression
And
of love, gratitude, and appreciation. I would want that. So therefore, to give that, what is something I would definitely want to do. I'm very enthusiastic with my gratitude. So sometimes, I'll have a guy like, calm down, my task rabbit man fix my electrical system without me asking. And I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I was like, you are amazing. And so I think that's what we as human people, we want to experience. We want to know also, okay, this is more. I should do more of this because she really liked that. Now I will say, are we always grateful? No. Do expectations destroy relationships? Yes. It's been my opinion. In my experience, expectations piss all over your relationship.
Yeah.
It could.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And then my final question.
These
What
were
are
easy.
I know. Well, I mean, men they were just like, what are the rules for PDA?
Ah,
What are the
Why
rules?
did you laugh like that?
What are the rules for
Why did you
PDA?
laugh like that?
oh no. Hey, you know what? If you're my man, if you've said, "Hey, we're together," it's free range for me. I mean, what do you mean? What are the rules? I mean, I can hold your hand. I can kiss you in public. Like I can do, whatever. I mean, nothing inappropriate, but I don't think
Right.
there should be. I don't think there should be any
You're not gonna
rules.
be grinding on somebody at a work event,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
Right.
yeah. I mean, but those are your own personal
but
limitations and boundaries.
show love and appreciation by, rubbing a hand or rubbing your back or giving you a kiss or whatever, especially if you're in a relationship with that person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay, one more. I think this is really important. This is a good one. It says,
Okay.
why some of y'all just don't understand that we cannot read minds. We notice a change in your energy. We ask what's the matter, and then all of a sudden you make us feel like we automatically are supposed to know. It's like neglect. It's like we're neglecting our woman. We're not all this way, but I've heard it from other men in relationships as well.
Because we read minds.
That's a fair question.
Huh?
I think we are wired so differently, men and women, and we speak different languages, and what we think is so intuitive to us that we think it should be intuitive to you, but it is a mistake. And vice versa. What you think, we should know you don't want to answer 20 questions, but we wouldn't mind. We would think somebody's interested in us if they ask 20 questions. We're just wired different. And so it can, that's what I think can get in the way of that one.
Yeah, I think that's a fair question, and to a certain extent, the person is right. And I fall into that trap as well sometimes. But one thing a man told me before is that never make an assumption that a man knows what you're thinking. Always tell them and be clear about what it is that you're either asking or expect from them,
Yeah.
but don't think that they're going to be just come up with that thought on their own, or they can read minds. They can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a double-headed sword, because I've had guys say, the same thing. I couldn't read minds, they didn't communicate, this, or whatever. Then I turn and I communicate everything. Like today, I was upset because you said this, or that made me feel this way. And they like, you know what, can you keep some stuff to yourself? Like, you have to express every emotion you have. So I'm like, well, which one you want? You want to
Right.
read minds? Sometimes, like, I don't know. And I'm not blaming the man. I'm just saying, in general, humans, I guess, it's just kind of a tug of war sometimes, because when you're expressing your thoughts, it almost makes it seem like the relationship is like there's a problem. A man feels like if you bring something up, it's like there's a problem I need to fix. And I'm like, no, I'm just saying, like, that made me feel a certain way. Like, monitor it a little bit. Don't do it. As you're getting to know someone. I think that stuff is important, because I know people who've been in relationships year, 2 years, and stuff has built up and they never communicated. Like, that bothered me.
And I think, you know what? And I think that's key, because I think that's how relationships become cancerous, right?
Yeah.
They just don't say anything, and then you realize there's nothing left, because it's so much you can't even get it out, that it's like, let me just
Yeah.
I think if you can study your mate, this is like relationship wise, not just when you first meet someone, but if you can care enough to study them, you can learn what they want and what they like, and not so much read their minds, but you can be more respectful of how they think and how they feel. You can make less assumptions. I will give another example. My check engine light came on. I mentioned it to my boyfriend, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's interesting," or whatever he said. So I called the repair shop. I took my car to the repair shop. They screwed me royally. I called him complaining, "Hey, my car's at the shop and these people trying to rape me. I need your help." And he's like, "Why did you take your car to the shop? Why didn't you tell me to do it?" Well, because I mentioned my check engine light was on and you didn't do anything. You didn't call. You didn't say, hey, I'll take care of this. And he said, but you should have just told me, hey, I want you to get my car fixed. I want you to do it. But I, being a woman, I want you to notice and care enough to say, baby, let me get your car fixed. Hey, I've heard you mention your check engine light was on. That's the difference in women and men, I think. And then I was actually upset about that for like 2 or 3 days because, mind you, I feel like I'm getting screwed. Well, we had another conversation about it, and he reminded me, do you know my check engine light has been on in my truck for 6 months? And that kind of flipped the switch for me. Like, that's because I say it's on, that's not an alert for him to take action. I should have said, hey, would you mind? Because that doesn't equate to him to go get your car fixed. It's just he's a man and he just get to it when he can.
I think yeah, and I think the one thing for men is like, if I say something to you and you're not, ask a follow-up question sometimes. Like just like if you're like for that, he could have been like, so babe. I think there's a nonverbal. Like when you say something, there's also a nonverbal language that's going with that. Like
right. But
right?
I think that's a man saying we're not being clear about what we want. Like they want to hear, hey, could you take my car for service instead of me dropping a hint and say, oh, my check engine light is on.
Subliminals don't work for me.
I wasn't even trying to be subliminal. It just came on and I said it, but I thought, well, if he has the bandwidth to take care of this, he'll speak up and he'll do it. Now he needs me. What he needs from me when I say study your mate, he needs me to be more direct and directly ask. That's a lot less romantic. I would love for him to just, take it on, but he is willing if I just speak up. So now I know I have to speak up if I want something like that done. And
I think we get caught up in the romance of the mind reading because it's just so delicious when he can go and he just can figure it out and he comes and swoops in like the knight in shining armor. That's the romance. But in reality, you're dealing with someone who they don't know. Me personally, I have a lot of things on my mind.
Exactly.
There's times when I'm like, and if he responds and reacts to all my different energy, he's gonna run himself raggedy. Now, I would love for him to say, babe, I notice your energy has kind of depleted. Is everything okay? Or is it me? I had a lover who would say, is it me? And I would be like, oh no. And then like Tanira, I share. I don't have a problem sharing. Once you're interested. But if I don't see you're interested, I'm not gonna just blah, 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 this is what is going on.
Can I just also say it also depends on the guy and the relationship that you're in as well too, because I know in the relationship that I was in before, if I said something like that, I think he would automatically jump into bring the car over later and I'll take a look or whatever. So it depends, right, on the guy. There's some people that your engine light don't even have to come on. They're going to check it for you before it even comes on.
Right. I think, and everybody's like, train a guy. I think the thing is like you're training the relationship. And I was just like, sometimes there is, yes, you have to say it, blah, 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 blah. But also we read men's nonverbal, right? And they need to, it's like, to me, this is where the nonverbal does say a lot, right? Like if I'm saying something in my emotions and my face, and everybody knows I wear my expressions. I have no poker face at all. But I think the thing is, it's just like, you also have to be like, I see the funkers on your face. What's going on? Or I see such and such. And with the check engine light, what else? I'm just like, whoever you are, I think there is the balance of understanding what they're saying and what they're not saying. Yeah. And that's for both men and women.
Somebody said sometime we need a playbook or a script from y'all.
No, just be present.
Right. If you pay attention to
know that when you feel that way, call your boys, go play ball, go run track, go play cricket, something. And then come back to get all that energy out, and then come back to your woman and be present for wherever she is. That doesn't mean you have to go and react and be woman Olympics, but just be there. because she might not even need all of that she needed last week. You know, like she's a woman, she's evolving, she's a human being. Just be present.
You know, I think, and you know, I don't want to be pessimistic with our men, but I tend to think in the same exact scenario, if this gentleman had a daughter, or even his mom or his grandmother, whomever, called and said, hey, you know, blah, 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 my car, my check engine light, regardless of him waiting 6 months to fix his, I do think we have this innate thing in us where we react. And when it doesn't happen in a relationship, I just think we don't put our relationships on the same level as our kids, our mom, and that sort of thing. And so because of that, it requires all this communication. And that's why I always, when I'm in a relationship, I always say I really want a friend. And what I mean is like, you know, Natalie, you're my girl. So as your girl, you know, you can call me and whatever you say, whether it's in my nature to do it or whatever, I am tuned in to my girl. And so some of the stuff, I mean, I'm not saying that it can't happen at times, and I'm not saying women don't fall short in the same way. But, you know, some things I'm like, come on,
Because
bring it up.
right, because
I really wasn't dropping a hint though. We were in the car at the time and I noticed it on. It wasn't like I called him and said, hey, my check engine light is on. I just happened to see it
Right.
sitting next to me. And it was just like, oh, I wonder what that is. And no, it didn't spark in him to take action because it wouldn't. Because he's such a protector, provider, like a good dude all the way around. I don't doubt his intentions. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I felt. It felt bad when it went wrong. If it hadn't gone wrong at the car shop, I wouldn't have even noticed it'd been a problem. But when it was bad, I'm like, this is your fault. You didn't step up and take my.
So I know, so Natalie, I know we're not supposed to ask questions, but let me ask a question. What if the guy said, I'm hungry? What would you ladies do?
I would go cook
Because
something.
My man, I'm
he
cooking.
didn't ask you guys to cook anything.
I'm
He
cooking.
didn't ask you guys to bring him food. He just said, I'm hungry. What would be your
My
first
question would be
response?
like, babe, what do you want to eat? What do we do? Like, I would be on, okay, I need to get him something to eat. He's hungry.
Yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't even ask. I would ask like, my question with my follow-up question, because I
Right.
believe in follow-up question. What do you want to eat?
Right. So
What do you
it's the same thing when you say my check engine light is on, and in that scenario, B Joy,
Yeah.
that
It didn't trigger for him to say, let me fix
you're
that.
thinking that his initial response, not
Yes.
that you're asking him to do
Yeah.
it, the initial response, we're just thinking maybe he should have said,
It should have triggered something in him to fix that.
But
Yeah,
you don't want to shit all over your relationship. This could be a
Oh
teachable
no, he's
Oh yeah.
he's an
It's a
amazing
teachable
dude.
moment, you
He's
know,
an
teachable
amazing dude.
moment, and then something he probably wouldn't even do it again. Maybe it was
Yeah.
something he had a whole bunch of stuff on his mind, you
Right.
know.
I mean, look,
Though, it's been 9 years, and when you say throw expectations out the window, they have gone down the drain. All expectations are gone. Like, we have really had to learn each other and adjust each other. But what's consistent is that his intentions are good. He's like a protector, provider, and so much integrity, backbone, stand-up dude. He's a really, really, really good guy. So he gets grace when he missteps. You know,
and I think we all, and that's the other thing, the grace with the missteps, be Joy.
yeah,
think
I like that. I like that, B Joy.
Beautiful.
I know who he is. I respect who he is. He feels the same way about me. So I've misstepped too.
Right.
The wifey was a misstep.
Well, ladies, we're actually over time. We're 13 minutes over, but we can't continue this conversation in the after party. So everybody come to the after party. We will throw it in the chat, and we will see y'all there.
All right.
Yeah, she was great.
Thank you, ladies. That was awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Tanera. Thank you, Joy. See y'all tomorrow. We're gonna do this with the men next week. See y'all.
Oh, cool.
Bye.
Join Stacked After Hours, The Spot, where grown men and women gather to have candid, also honest discussions about the state of life, love, and more. The Spot is a hybrid of in-person and weekly virtual gatherings. Join our Facebook group and answer our daily questions. Subscribe to our YouTube for our weekly live talk shows and join us on Zoom for our talk show after parties for lively conversations with other opinionated, grown, and sexy professionals. Just search, like, follow, and subscribe to Stack After Hours on Facebook groups and YouTube. Also like and follow our brand pages at Be Stacked Wellness on Facebook and IG. So wherever you are, at home or abroad, pull out your laptop, tablet, or smartphone and join in the conversation with the members of Stacked After Hours. The Spot by Be Stacked Wellness. See you there.
As you know, and if you are new to the Stacked family, we always keep our conversations lit and enlightening.